Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and we got a mailbag on tap for you today. All these questions are from our live show on November 12th, 2025. All you got to do, use hashtag Texans or Super Chat to get featured on the show. And like I said, all the questions are from our loyal subscribers who tuned into our live show. We're live every Wednesday at 3:30 Central Time. All right, let's get the first question in from Melinda Allgood. All's good. Why not use the same O-line the hashtag Texans played with this past week? They played well. So in that instance, this is who we're looking at. Left tackle, Ariante Ursery. Left guard, Jarrett Patterson. Center, Jake Andrews. Right guard, Juice Scruggs. And right tackle, Trent Brown. Now, I will say that the Texans probably won't have Trent Brown at right tackle this week at least. They'll probably have Titus Howard, who's back from injury. I do think that more than likely we'll see Titus Howard at tackle. I know a lot of people are clamoring. Maybe we get, Titus Howard pushed into guard and Trent Brown at right tackle. I don't know. I do know that more likely than not, Titus Howard will start on this Texans offensive line if it's at right tackle or another position. So I don't think we'll get the same line that we got last week. But I do think Jarrett Patterson at left guard showed that he is maybe one of the best pass-blocking interior linemen that we have. Maybe deserves a little bit more respect and maybe some playing time at one of the guard spots himself, if not at the center spot. Good question, Melinda. Steven coming in. Hashtag Texans. Any news on Joe Mixon? No news yet. No news yet. He has been more active on social media, and I said it, during the 49ers game, Joe Mixon was in attendance. Joe Mixon was seen at NRG Stadium. He was seen in the locker room. He did not have a boot on, did not have crutches, was walking around pretty normal. So the fact that he's been a little bit more active, the fact that, Joe Mixon was there at the stadium and he's been more active on Twitter, maybe we see him. But, I feel like this is like Watergate trying to get any information from NRG right now. We nothing. It's just nothing. They won't let anything out. They're not saying anything about Joe Mixon. I saw somebody say, "Who's Joe Mixon?" in my chat. That's what Nick Caserio says anytime somebody asks about the Texans running back spot. He's like, Joe Mixon. Oh, you mean number 28? The running back from last. Oh, that Joe Mixon. Oh yeah, nothing to report. So I'm still trying to get as much information as I can. I'm still trying to talk to people around NRG, but it's crazy because even people with NRG, there might be somebody at NRG that's kind of controlling the flow of information in and out, and I think we all know who that is, and he's very serious about number 28 on the Texans and making sure that no information gets out. Let's see. Next one coming in from Mr. Unlimited. Hashtag Texans. Is it safe to say Woody is the RB1 now? I would say so. I think that this past week we saw Woody Marks get the lion's share of the carries up against the Jags, and I think he's proven that he is electric with the ball in his hands, and that the Texans can trust him to be a good running back in between the tackles. Now, that doesn't mean I want to totally phase out Nick Chubb. I think he played really well down the stretch against the Jags, too. On that last drive, the Texans' game-winning touchdown drive, he had a couple key runs where he ran for 11, 12 yards in that final drive. He was really good as well. But if I'm talking like who I want to have the majority of the carries on this Texans squad right now, if they don't add anybody else, definitely the rookie in Woody Marks. What do you say? Do you consider Woody Marks the Texans RB1 right now? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comment section. Let me know, because as I mentioned, I'm typing my yes. I would consider Woody Marks the RB1 right now, and almost like a Thunder Lightning duo with him and Nick Chubb, but maybe I want to see a little bit more of the lightning than the thunder with Woody Marks over Nick Chubb. So good question, but yes, I do consider Woody Marks the RB1 as of right now. Next up, Bob loves meatballs. Bob! Hashtag Texans. We saw some good flashes from C.J. Stroud before he got injured. I agree. In that Broncos game, when you look at it, Texans were able to move the ball really well, and I thought C.J. was moving in the pocket better than I've seen him move all season. Do you think he will be closer to his rookie year self when he comes back? Good question, Mr. Loves Meatballs. I do. I think we'll see a energize C.J. Stroud. I think we'll see one that is ready to, get back in there and prove that he is the franchise QB that we all know that he can be. As you mentioned, before he exited that game up against Denver in Week 9, I thought he was looking really good. Besides the red zone struggles where the Texans weren't able to get it in the end zone, really had nothing to do with Stroud. They ran the ball up the middle 3 times in a row with, Nick Chubb and British Brooks. I thought Stroud was on point, though, in Week 9 up against the Denver defense that looked really good the rest of the game against Davis Mills and, has looked good all season. They're a top 5 defense just like the Houston Texans. And I thought C.J. Stroud was looking very good. And I truly believe if Stroud was in for that entire game in Week 9 up against Denver, the Texans would have caught a dub. Next up, Brendan D'Souza, #Texans. Who is the best rookie we have? Best rookie we have. There's going to be a sneak answer right here. I think it's Ariante Ursery, the left tackle. He has played really well. Yes, he's had his hiccups here and there, and you can maybe point to that first Jags loss of the season that, he let the rusher behind him, and the ball ended up getting tipped out of Stroud's hand, and it was an interception. But overall, if you're looking at the guy who stepped in and stepped up the biggest out of any rookie so far, it's Ursery. He's been the day one starting left tackle for this Texans squad, and regardless of, everything else that's happened, I think he's been one of the best offensive linemen that the Texans have had this season. So I'd have to say Ariante Ursery as the best rookie so far for your Houston Texans. And the best daily fantasy sports app in the world, well, it's known as Prize Picks. And you can get started today with our friends over at Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by them. The hard-hitting action in football is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right, that never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. It's super simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2-player stats. To get your picks right, you can cash in big time. And if you're wondering, well, Jeremy, can you give me an example of a lineup that I might want to play? Well, here's one for you right here. I'm using the new feature on Prize Picks called Stacks. That means you can play one player. Cam Ward, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. I have 2 projections for him. I'm going less on his pass yards and more on his rush yards. I also have Jaden Higgins to get in the end zone, a rushing or receiving touchdown. And I'm going the more on the Woody Marks rush yards. And if you look at the bottom right here, you can choose how you play. You can do a flex play, which means if one of these doesn't hit, you still get paid out. Or if you want a bigger payout, you can always go with the power play with our friends over at Prize Picks. Make sure to download the Prize Picks app today. Use that code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. Oscar713, #Texans. Who has had the best peak? Nico Collins, Andre Johnson, or DeAndre Hopkins? This is a good question. This is a really good question. I would say the best peak. I know I'm going to get crucified for this, but I think it might be D-Hop. I think D-Hop. I think the best peak. I might get crucified with it. I'm splitting hairs, but I think the best singular season, probably from D-Hop. But if you're looking at the best career, it is by far Andre Johnson. He is a Hall of Famer for a reason. He is one of the best wide receivers to ever suit up in the NFL, not just for your Houston Texans, but across the entire National Football League. But if I'm saying one season, dude, D-Hop was D-Hop. He was insane. He was able, like the one-handed catches that he was able to do, just the fact that he was so mobile, his catch radius was insane. He was awesome. And if you look at the quarterbacks, I know Andre Johnson, he had a multitude of quarterbacks as well, but you look at the quarterbacks that D-Hop was doing it with before Deshaun Watson got in, it wasn't a pretty list, right? It was, like Brian Hoyer, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Case Keenum, TJ Yates, Brandon Whedon started in the game, Tom Savage. Like, he was making all those guys look really good before he ended up teaming up with Deshaun Watson for a couple seasons, and then the Texans sold him for a pack of peanuts. But respectfully, I think the highest peak would be D-Hop. The best career, obviously, easily Andre Johnson. And I do think Nico Collins is a fantastic receiver, but he's not on the level of Andre Johnson or D-Hop just yet. Good question, though, Oscar. Not Katie's burner. Hashtag Texans, not a question. Just want to say Kamari is so underrated, man. Yep. He is, in fact, 100% underrated. I think what he's been able to do on the opposite side of Derek Stingley has been fantastic this season. He's been a go-to guy for this Texans team whenever they need to lock somebody down. He's played well and been a part of this Texans defense that is the number one defense in terms of points against this year. And you look at how him and Derek Stingley played this past week. I believe they were targeted like 6 or 7 times and only let up 1 catch. So really good week for both those guys up against Jacksonville. And if you agree with me, if you think Kamari, if you agree with me and not KD's burner, which we don't know if that is KD or not. I don't know. He said it wasn't KD's burner, so I'm going to believe him for now, but maybe it is KD. If you agree with us, go down and spam those 4s down below for our guy Kamari. Absolutely. I mean, every time he makes a play and just hits his helmet like that, gets me fired the F up. I love Kamari Lassiter and love the spark that he brings to this squad. If you agree with me, go down and type those 4s. Harrison Diggs, hashtag Texans. Should the Texans trade Tank Dell? This is a spicy question. It's tough because, I don't know if we'll see Tank Dell this season. I'm going to go with no for right now because when you think about our receiving room going into next year, you have Nico Collins, you'll have Jaden Higgins, and then you'll have Jalen Knoll. I don't think the Texans are going to bring back Christian Kirk. Then you have other guys who are kind of like back into the roster guys. You have Braxton Berrios. You have Justin Watson. I would say no. You got to keep them up into next season. But next year is going to be a big season to see whether or not, Tank Dell still has it. If he still has what's, a little bit left in the tank, if that injury took anything away from him. Obviously, as a Texans fan, I mean, the one, H-Town alternate jersey that I got last year was number 3. It was Tank Dell. So I'm a huge Tank Dell fan. I don't want to see him go anywhere. So I'm going to say no right now. But next year is going to be a big, big kind of mark to see whether or not Tank Dell is still an NFL-level receiver or that injury maybe took him a couple notches down. Good question, though, Harrison Diggs. Next up, Drake May, Pats lover. Hashtag Texans. What is the grit this team showed at the end of the Jaguars game tell you about their hunger for the playoffs? Oh, that is actually a good question. I'll say this. The fact that you were on the ropes, the fact that you had a backup quarterback in and all the injuries that you had to this squad, you were down 19 entering the fourth quarter, and you found a way to win that game just shows you how hard these guys play for DeMeco Ryans. And that's why when anybody calls for DeMeco Ryans' job or say like, oh, well, this, that, or the other, I don't think DeMeco Ryans is good enough to be the head coach, blasphemous. You should take their opinion, ball it up, throw it in the trash. Because I have never seen a Texans team. I have never seen individuals play harder for the Houston Texans than I've seen under head coach DeMeco Ryans. And you can't tell me otherwise. Have you ever seen a group of players play with as much grit, determination that we saw this past weekend under any other head coach? And this isn't me saying the other head coaches have been bad or the Texans have never had a good head coach in their career. I thought Gary Kubiak did a fine job as the Texans head coach. But no other guy has gotten the most out of his players as the head coach for the Houston Texans other than DeMeco Ryans. And you saw it this past weekend up against the Jags, and you see how hungry this team is, even though they had a horrible start. And you look at the start that they had, honestly, every loss that they've had has been a one-score game. So as much bad as this team has had this year, as bleak as it's looked, I still have hope for this squad because of what you said. This team plays with determination, and they play with that grit. Next up, Barbecue Dave, BBQ. Hashtag Texans, do you think Caley's job is safe now? Oh, after the first 3 weeks, I definitely was like, I'm done. I am done with Caley. Maybe a little premature first-time play caller, and perhaps he does, turn it around for the rest of the year and, play well. I will say the play calling up against Jacksonville, I thought he did a fantastic job. I thought Caley, maybe one of his better play calling, halves of the season, the second half up against Jacksonville. The Texans didn't really punt at all in that second half. Maybe once in the second half, but overall with a backup quarterback with a lot of backups playing, I thought Caley did a really, really, stand-up job up against the Jags. If he continues that on, of course, yeah. If the Texans continue to play well, he will 100% have a job for the Houston Texans next season. J Scrib 44 #Texans. Any news on Jimmie Ward? From what I'm told from some sources at NRG, he's still a couple weeks away. The Texans don't want to rush anybody back from injury, and that's kind of their MO. We talked about it earlier with Joe Mixon. They're not going to rush anybody back from injury. That's kind of the yin and yang of having a player's coach in DeMeco Ryans and a former player as your head coach. Is he knows about injuries and he knows about what it's like to play through injuries. So with Jimmie Ward, they're not going to rush him back. They're not going to play him until they feel like he is ready to go. And I'm being told that's not going to be this week. It may not be against the Bills, but I'll look for that next week up against the Indianapolis Colts. That should be a good target date if you're looking at the return for Jimmie Ward on this defense. Next up, Hugo Collins, #Texans. If you had to buy a Texans jersey right now, which jersey and what player? Personally, I'm thinking Stingley or Petrie. Both good options. The next jersey I'm going to get, I'm probably going to get a Jalen Petrie jersey, but my favorite jersey that I own right now is Will Anderson Jr. And I made a proclamation at the beginning of this season that Waj would be the #1 player on this Texan squad by year's end. We would view Will Anderson Jr. as the best player on the Texans roster, and I think that's coming to fruition. Each and every week, I see Area 51 going out there and playing like his hair's on fire. I love my Will Anderson jerseys. If I could, I'd probably get one of every single, color jersey for Will Anderson Jr. That's me personally. If you're telling me what's the safest jersey I can get, what's one that I would always be able to rock, I'm going with Will Anderson Jr. You can't go wrong with the CJ Stroud. I like the Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley as well. Joe Mixon jerseys are on sale right now on Fanatics, so use chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. Go check them out right now. The Joe Mixon one's on sale, so if you want a cheaper jersey, you can go check that one out. But personally, right now, if you were asking me what jersey to get, I'd probably get a Will Anderson Jr. jersey. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can do so at Jeremy Chugs. And if you made it to the end of the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button for free Texans content all year long.